Hello and welcome to Frank Fridays. My name is Karline and I'm the founder of Art Frankly. You all know my co-host Ellie of Hayworth Consultancy. Today we are chatting with Allie Lee, the founder and creative director of didDADA. She's got a lot of great advice to give us, and I'm going to let Ellie get this interview started now.
Thank you, Karline. And Allie, it's really great to be chatting with you today.
Such a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So Allie, I think we can kind of start at the beginning. I'd love to hear, you've had a very interesting and kind of meandering profession in the arts. And I'm just curious to hear what brought you to a career in the arts in the first place, and just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. I think it was really natural. Since I was younger, I grew up in a suburban town out of Minnesota, in Bloomington. And ever since growing up there, I always wanted out. And so how to get out was to, be inspired by the people. And I just really kind of honed in on the world and of arts at a really young age. So actually a really funny story. I ended up studying at FIT New York, but before that, I kind of honed in on an internship with Isaac Rahi's team.
Oh, wow.
So at that time, he was doing the first project with Target Corporation.
I remember this.
Yeah, so he was coming to Minneapolis all the time. And I remember being in high school and seeing him at a Starbucks in Minneapolis and going up to his agent and just saying like, "Hi, I'm Allie. I'm trying to build a portfolio right now. I want to go to fashion school." And I just, was chatting away. And long story short, he was like, "Listen, I have a meeting to go to," but the agent gave me his card. And it started this really beautiful relationship of him kind of looking at my portfolio and then offering me a job in the city when I got accepted to FIT. So that was kind of the first kind of stint of getting to the city, working on a design team, being thrown into the world of arts in that way.
That's amazing. Well, I absolutely love that. And you certainly have really a handle on various different markets. And I think we can get into that in just a little bit, because I think you have an amazing kind of unique perspective on what some might consider non-traditional art markets, but I think they're all the more interesting for that reason. But you started this company with your sister, didDADA, and you ladies are kind of multi-hyphenate entrepreneurs. And so I'm curious if you can maybe just tell us a little bit more about kind of the mission behind didDADA.
Sure. So, the mission always goes back to the purpose of the company and what kind of relationships I was having at the time. So at that time in my life, when I started didDADA, before my sister was even involved, I had this background in New York City, and I had this love of the outdoors, and I didn't bridge them. And I wanted to bridge it in a special way where someone like myself that wanted to climb a mountain early in the morning during the day, and then really have a fine dinner at night and appreciate art and appreciate fashion and culture and the conversation around that. There was no real niche that had both. Yeah. And so the concept of didDADA actually was in a tent on Everest Base Camp. And I remember drawing out and sketching the idea of this third place. So I was really into Ray Oldenburg, who's a professor of sociology in Minnesota. He talked about the first place being home, the second place being your work, but this third place of community gathering, and how you create this idea of building community and building relationships, but under this umbrella of art, culture, outdoors, connecting with each other, connecting with yourself. And so that's really where didDADA started from. And I knew that that wasn't enough. I needed to research. I needed to figure out, like, could this actually survive and, long-term sustainably? And so my best friend, partner, the biggest dreamer you'll ever meet is my sister. And so we would always bounce ideas off of each other all the time. And so at that time I thought, okay, I'm in New York. I'm seasonally going in the summer to Alaska. So I have these both worlds. What if we actually just go for it and start this space, this gathering space, which started retail in Alaska, in this main Talkeetna. And so that's really where it started. And didDADA means sister in Nepalese, and dada means sister in Swahili. And where that's derived is because I worked in Nepal on Everest, and I worked in Africa on a hotel project there. And not once was I ever called by my first name. I was always referred to as a sister. And I thought, from a more of a conscious business plan, how beautiful that really is, and how actually the nature of your work gets done when you actually are working together as sisters and brothers versus it being a transactional employee, situation. And so that's really, it was a pun off of working with my sister, but didDADA, for when we started it in 2018, was really a gathering place for the community, and it was a cultural hub around appreciation of arts. We had wellness goods for the climbing market. We did adventure concierge. We had vintage clothes, fine jewelry. And so it was a little bit of everything that we loved tied to our Alaska roots and New York roots.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think you have a very, very interesting purview. And we share a little bit of synergies in the sense that, I, in a past life, would work with the Aspen Art Museum. And so there was this beautiful kind of congregation of fine art with a capital F, but also this like more kind of thoughtful approach to lifestyle and community. So I think I very much respect kind of the vision that you guys have injected into didDADA. And I'm just curious, for the sake of this conversation, Alaska, I think, is a really interesting market that many people, and certainly we haven't spoken about on this Frank Friday series, but Alaska is one market I think people would be really interested in. And also you've done really interesting curatorial projects in Utah, and as you mentioned, in Nepal and beyond. So maybe you can just tell us a little bit about what has kind of engaged you with the community, whether it's in Alaska or Utah. Tell us a little bit about some of your projects that are inspiring.
Well, I always try and work from the purpose, and this is natural for me, is I'm drawn to people and I'm drawn to relationships. And all of the people that we worked with in Alaska, it was always about storytelling. And I think that really weaved in through the projects in Utah as well. When I was hired to curate the gallery out there, there really wasn't a platform yet for Indigenous. And so sourcing and finding artists that maybe, they're not in the arts world at all, but they have this skill and this talent and this story to be told, and how to help kind of shine the light on their work and their purpose behind what they're doing. I think any project that I commit to or dedicate myself, it has to be about the sustainability of that relationship, and what's the bigger purpose around that. And I think both the creativity kind of spun when I was in nature in Nepal, and in Alaska, there's a lot of the artists, of course, are from a textile basis, or painting, musicians are all derived from connecting with nature. And in Utah, the same. In the Indigenous arts, it's coming from this storytelling of the beadwork that paint. I worked with this incredible artist, Amy Young, who originally she started Arenda Tribe, but it's for kinship now, with her daughter. She's taking, and this is a perfect example, she's taking the arts through textiles and fashion, and kind of like the mama bear of honing in on Indigenous artists and helping them survive and curate their appreciated work. But she's also giving back to the community to grow. And that's very important to me, is recognizing your place in the big picture, and giving back everyone around you grow. And I think in these remote places, if you're not doing that, you're not really going to get far.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that all makes perfect sense. And I think, Allie, one of the questions we like to pose our kind of interviewees, if you will, on these Frank Fridays is, and certainly I think it can apply considering you are a multi-hyphenate entrepreneur and you're doing a lot of different kinds of projects that are very market responsive. What are some of the business challenges that you have had to face, and how have you kind of resolved them?
It's a great question. I think anyone would probably say this. I think because I've worked in smaller, more remote, in the middle of nowhere places, you're not getting the mindset of city thinking or city marketing, or the idea of actually having equitable or livable situation based off of like your work, selling your work. And so some of the difficulties have been, well, I wouldn't really say difficulty, it's more of an opportunity, is working with the artists to help them understand like there is real value here, and you can live off of your work. You can have more worth, have self-worth with this. And I think it's such a psychological game that a lot of artists they just don't see themselves that way, and they don't see their work having that much value or changing people's lives in the way that it does. And so though it's a difficulty with communication around it, it's such a grand opportunity platform to have. So I would say that, like, from the desert in Utah, in the middle of nowhere in Alaska, finding somebody that comes in and says, hey, I'm not sure if you would even sell this in your shop or show it in, Denali Arts Council that I ran, but here's my work. And you look at it and it's like, what do you mean? This is incredible. Tell me more, show me more. And there's nerves around that. So I think it's a beautiful opportunity.
Yeah, no, I agree with that statement. And I certainly think there is a learning curve. When you're in a New York City or an LA or a London, there is a whole market around the marketability of art. And it's almost hard to speak about art as being independent from the market or its kind of involvement in people's lives and business. So I very much respect that, there is an opportunity to kind of incubate new thinking and incubate or even empower a new approach to kind of art. So I very much respect that, Allie.
Yeah, there's a whole language around it that is just unspoken. And so it's a much quieter, get so excited around it, but then it's this learning that's wonderful to watch.
Yeah, I love that. What would you say has been kind of your greatest career milestone?
Probably starting didDADA. I mean, it was such a dream and such a vision for something. I worked with Lojo Rinsler, started this really cool, it's almost like a MBA program, but it was social conscious leadership and just kind of ironing out all the doubt and ironing out all of the inner workings of getting to a place to start your own business and with your own capital, and really scary, and it's nerve-wracking and it's intimidating. I think for me that was the biggest milestone, was just going for it and saying, hey, I'm just going to try, I'm just going to see and put it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, no, I certainly think that is something to be very, very proud of. And you've done really amazing work, so it's exciting. So Allie, we like to kind of round out with like one or two professional practice questions. The Art Frankly audience is either existing arts professionals or aspirational, students and individuals who are looking to start a career in the arts. And so what would be one word of advice that you would give to a kind of aspiring arts professional?
Intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Follow your intuition. Because I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
In the arts world, when it can be overwhelming, it can be saturating, it can be intimidating. There's a reason why you are where you are, and follow that.
Yeah. No, I agree with that statement. It's good. No, that is a critical piece of advice. So I love that. And then looking at 2022, I mean, we are, kind of fresh in a new year, and I'm curious, do you have any kind of professional projects that you'd like for us to kind of be thought partners on, if you will? Like, what can we look forward to from you this year?
Well, I'm sitting in a little bar loft in upstate New York right now, and my sister and I are looking for a new location for didDADA. So that is something to keep your eyes on. And we also are trying to follow our intuition on, the biggest part for us is trying to find a community that we're aligned with, and that first quality of life. And if we can, create something sustainable, that's, keep your eyes open for that. And there's another little side project that might be happening, but I'm not really able to talk about it yet, but there's some works. Yeah.
Well, I love that. Well, we hope that you'll keep in touch and let us know about any fun, exciting milestones that we can help celebrate with you on the Art Frankly platform, and certainly on Hayworth's platform as well. And I don't know, this was just a lot of fun, Allie. So I appreciate that you took the time today, and I loved talking about didDADA and a little bit more about your vision.
Thank you for having me, and you guys are doing such an awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.